Welcome to the AI Surge podcast, where we explore how AI and automation is supporting industries and accelerating innovation. I'm your host, Surgical, and today I'd like to welcome everyone to Spencer Horn, founder and CEO of Altium Leadership and Coaching based in Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome and looking forward to a great conversation, Spencer.
Great to be here, Serge. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, let's start from the top. So please tell us about your journey, just in general, coming out of school and your business experience. Like, what led you to the Altium Leadership and Coaching Group?
So, out of college, I've been working my whole life, but out of college, I was recruited by a publicly traded company called iTech Attractions, where we developed IMAX theaters and tourist destinations for really entertainment purposes. And that was kind of ahead of the curve back then. IMAX was mostly in science centers and museums. But we had a great time doing that. And so I was the vice president of operations for this. Mentor, just a great team experience, and learned so much in that environment. And then, sometimes life happens. There was a big hurricane in our next location where we were going to develop our next theater in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, and, Charlotte Amalie. And so the public offering failed, and so the company had to reorganize. And so I looked for another opportunity and moved on, not because I wanted to, but because the company was short on cash. And so I was very sad to go. Now, I've just had other ups and downs in my corporate experience. And I just wanted to understand how I could recreate those great experiences I had as a high performing team with that one experience out of college. And eventually I was led to work with a leadership training and development company, Surge, and very, very intensive leadership training program. But what is interesting is they were very hypocritical. They taught it, but they didn't live it. And that was frustrating to me. And I tried to, make some changes. I eventually became the CEO of that company. The company was so stuck in how they did things, they were not willing to change, which seems kind of ironic, right? You're a leadership training and development company, and yet you're not willing to change and to grow. And so eventually I had to leave, and in 2015, I started my own company. And the idea was that, take all these great things that I've learned and where I succeeded, where I failed, and help other companies do the same. And so for the last 10 years, I've been working with companies all over the world. I speak professionally on stages. I'm a keynote speaker, past president of the National Speakers Association Mountain West Conference. I'm a certified team performance coach. I'm an executive coach. I am anything to do with team performance and leadership development. That's what I do at the company. And we started, like I said, 10 years ago, and we punch above our weight grade. A lot of that has to do with AI and the ability to leverage ourselves, but work with great clients worldwide, and absolutely love that. I get to speak on stages. I get to talk one-on-one with people. I get to do team coaching. So anything to do with people development, I get to do. In a way, I'm a teacher, but the classroom is the corporate setting.
And it will teach you a lot of lessons, won't it?
It sure will. Yeah, you'll either be in charge of those lessons or they'll be in charge of teaching you.
So I saw on your website, Spencer, you've got a mission of, or a statement at the very least, of transforming your team, transform your business. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, the whole purpose of a team, why does a team exist? The team exists to produce results, right? And the best teams are able to sustain that level of productivity. So what we want to do is we want to see where the team is on the continuum of its ability to produce and sustain that productivity. So when I come in and assess a team, it's like, okay, where are you on this continuum? Are you a team that is highly productive but low positive? Think about what it's like to be on a team like that. Competition, people are not really supportive of each other, and it's a grind, and you get burnout, right? So people can't sustain that level of productivity. They end up quitting. If you're a team that is highly positive but not productive, well, sometimes that's maybe the nonprofit world or the government world, or some corporate environments where they just love the cause, but they're not getting things done, and they're not spending their resources wisely. Well, that's not sustainable either, now is it? And if you're in in the team that's low productive and low positive, well, you're not very happy. You're looking to jump ship. And so our goal is to get to that upper right quadrant of high productivity, high positivity. And it's only 10% of the teams worldwide really are able to claim that level of productivity and sustainability. It's not easy to get there. And it's fun when you're there, but it's not easy because you've got to be able to have tough conversations. You've got to have vulnerability. You've got to be able to challenge each other. You've got to be able to have accountability. You've got to be able to enjoy being together. You got to be able to have conflict and difficult conversations. And when you have all that, when people trust each other and buy in, are highly engaged, it's magic. But it's not easy to get there. So if you can transform the team, and we look at a team as a system. Yes, you can do individual coaching, but you can get to that high productivity, high positivity even faster when you attack the team as an entire system. So that's, we try to take a systemic approach when we're working with teams and identify what that system is, and if it's conducive to the goals and the results that they want to have. If it's not, then we help to address that on the team, and there you go. Then it moves into that productivity quadrant.
So, Spencer, for those who are watching this and say, you know what, I could use a resource like this and want to get a hold of you, but maybe they're not sure what that process looks like. Do you do it the training virtually? Do you do it in person? Typically, how many sessions does it take to see some progress? What does that look like?
Yeah. So one of the great question. One of the ways that people start is you might have the team leader. I don't know if that's the CEO, president, somebody senior in the company, will do what's called a team leader view assessment. We have a true team diagnostic where you have everybody on the team take the assessment. But before we do that, I like to have people see the process and what's involved. And so I have them take the leader version of the team diagnostic. Once they do that, I go through that with them and say, here's how we address the team. Here's how we get the team to move. And that's all done virtually, right? I'll give you an example. I mean, we're working with the number one airline in the world right now, and we have a combination of in-person. So we have, we're working for 6-7 months. We'll do 3 sessions, 5 days in person. Then we'll do, 6 coaching sessions as a group. And then I do individual coaching sessions, and those coaching sessions are usually done virtually. So it can be a combination. And we can certainly do things virtually, but it's not as powerful as being in person. There's just something that happens when you're together in a room, especially overnight, when you have a chance to have like a retreat style. But that's not always possible, so we try to do it in what works for the client. And every engagement is different. It's based on their needs, it's based on their budget, and it's based on what's going to move the needle the most for them. So the engagement will be, we don't just have an off the shelf, this is what it looks like. But when we do a team diagnostic, then we create the plan for the individual client, what they need to really make those shifts.
So, for everybody's benefit, Spencer's website is altiumleadership.com. And I saw some really cool resources there, Spencer, some videos and some blogs, and even a ProScan survey. Can you tell the viewers what that's all about?
Yeah, that's a different type of survey. That's a psychometric assessment, which is one of the best I've ever found. I mean, I've used just about everyone out there, predictive index, DISC, you've got Hogan, you've got Colby, you've got, I mean, just there's any kind of leadership or survey and communication survey. It's good to have one of those. But the ProScan is one that I've been using for about 14 years, and it's absolutely brilliant. It helps us identify an individual's strengths. It helps us identify where their blocks to effective communication and leadership are. And it tremendously helps in the coaching. We can also get a sense for the culture on the team based on the makeup of the team. So, for example, let me give you one of the clients I have has a makeup of 90% of the team has what we call conformity above the line, which means they need clarity. They're perfectionists. They struggle to take action if they don't know exactly what's expected of them. Well, one of the challenges that they have is they're not taking initiative. And the team leader wants them to, but because of 90% of the team have these behavioral tendencies working against the goal of the team leader. So part of what this does is, first of all, helps normalize the fact that it's hard for them. But that's not an excuse. You can't say, well, because you all have high conformity, we're exempting you from taking risks and shifting your behavior. No, it's very normal for somebody with your traits to feel comfortable doing something that you're not sure of the outcome, taking a risk. That's normal. Here's how you get over that. Here's how you begin to shift your behavior so that you can have the success that you need, and so can your department. One more example, my board from the Speaking Association, as you can imagine, we have 85% of us have high extroversion, and we had a job to do at a board retreat, was to do all of our policies and procedures and our bylaws, which is, you can't get more boring than that. But it was an 8-hour process. So we have all these high extroverts, and what's the potential to happen? We're going to get sidetracked. We're going to get off on these discussion tangents, and we're not going to get the job done. So what we did is we empowered the other, 15%. We didn't have any high conformity. In this case, we're missing the conformity who pay attention to details. We needed them, and we didn't have them. So we empowered the two people on the team that had high dominance to say, if we get off track, your job is to hold us to account and to keep us focused. Because we knew the makeup of the team, we could make up for our deficiencies and be conscious about them. And, if you're an organization and you need to have different perspectives, you need to know what your strengths and the weaknesses of your team so that you can actually recruit for those strengths. It's called cognitive diversity, right? I mean, you really need different thought processes and strengths to be able to solve all the problems that you have on a business. And the ProScan really helps with that. Super powerful, and it does so much more. How much energy is being drained? How are you adapting based on, the culture, and is that helpful? Is that stressing you out? Or it's just, I can do so much within 5 minutes. I can tell exactly what's going on with an individual. And people, when they take it, they say, well, man, I just feel like you went through my underwear drawer, because it gets very, very personal. But that's the great thing about it, is it has to be accurate for it to be useful, and it's highly, highly accurate.
I smile because I've been in a room with a lot of extroverts before, and it's great for healthy debate, great collaboration, a lot of dialogue. But sometimes, to your point, you're missing somebody who's going to stick to the agenda and keep you on point and talk about action items. And whereas, the extroverts are, ideas are flowing and things are going, but you need that balance. I totally understand that.
So you need balance, right? So you got the task and you have relationships. Some people are really good at the task, but without the relationship, you can't sustain the task. Some people are really good at the relationship but suck at the task. You need both, right? That's where the balance comes in. So you need people on the team. If you don't have that capacity, you need to develop it, or you need to find someone on the team that can help complement you.
So it sounds like you have a lot of passion for this, Spencer. Can you maybe give me an example of two, throughout your career, maybe over the last decade or so? What's something that you're really proud of, that you hang your head on? Is there an example or two you could give us?
Yeah, lots of examples. When we started, so my wife and I are partners. When we started this business, it takes a couple of things to start a business. You need capital, you need a great product, and you need a market that wants to purchase what it is that you have. If you have all three of those, your chances of succeeding go up. Now, you can get away with two of the three, and that's what we did. We didn't have capital, but I felt like we had a great product, we had a great service that we could provide, and we had people that needed what we had, and that enabled us to, as we got started as a startup company, to beat our goals, and to do this, starting this company 10 years ago, to still be in business today and growing. I'm proud of the fact that we get to work with major organizations, and we punch way above our weight grade. I mean, I've worked with Fortune, 500, and now even Fortune 50 companies, uh, government agencies, National Park Service, National Guard, just great, great companies that we work in. And we're a small organization, but we are effective at what we do. But being small, there's disadvantages to that. So I'm proud of the fact that we're able to have really some great success at a high level.
So you use some good sports analogies in your content. One is a new one I hadn't seen before. but you claim that there is an I in team. Can you explain that a bit further?
Yeah, so, I changed I had a keynote called "There is an I in team," but it's really called "Lead with Impact," and it's the idea, that I was just saying, you can be great at the relationship or you can be great at the task, but how do you do both? Well, you work on your ability to balance all sides of leadership. Can you be empathetic and assertive? Can you be focused and see the big picture? Can you use your head and your heart? Can you be um, assertive without becoming a bully? So that really speaks to, if you look at the best leaders, they have a couple of things in common. First of all, the number one characteristic of the best leaders is they are authentic. Well, that's over 1,000 studies that say that. More than competence, more than vision, more than anything else, authenticity. A second study done by the Hay McBear Consulting Group, now Korn Ferry, found that almost 4,000 executives, out of 4,000 executives, the best leaders, in addition to being authentic, were able to use 6 different leadership styles. And those styles are coercive, authoritative, affiliative, democratic. 3 of those are task-oriented, and 3 of those are people-oriented. And what I find, Serge, is that most people are good at 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of them, and they suck at 2 or 3 or 4 of them. So when people say there's no I in team, yes, there is. You as an individual impact the team just by being on it, and the team impacts you. As a leader, I want to impact the team as best as I possibly can. So I get to work on me as that leader and balance those leadership skills and learn how to fill the gaps of where I have holes as a leader so that I can be the team leader that my team deserves. That's the I. It's me working on me as the leader. And when I do that, the team performs better because they have somebody that cares about them and challenges them at the same time. I had that when I came out of college. I had that leader and my mentor. He was authentic, he was humble, he was assertive, he had incredibly high standards, he held me accountable. He had all the leadership styles. And we had tough conversations. I mean, early on, he sat me down, sat across the table and said, "Spencer, I believe in you, but right now you're not the leader that this team needs. I need more from you." Now, I wasn't sure that I could give more, but he believed in me enough that knew that I could. And he says, "I'm going to give you 6 months to figure it out." I had to work on my I, right? I had to work on me. So I showed up better for the team. Well, after the 6 months, after doing the work, he promoted me. That's what I mean by the I in team.
Well, when someone believes in you and your potential, that's the ultimate compliment, isn't it?
I think it is a compliment. Yes, absolutely.
So, tell me a little bit about maybe what's changed recently. And I think you said you'd kind of founded this business in 2015. There's always going to be the coaching and the people that say coaching and development. Has technology and AI kind of changed the way you do business, or how you measure performance, or how does that start for you?
Well, it absolutely has changed how I do business. It's put greater pressure on companies because companies can now compete at any level because of AI. I think it's a great equalizer. And so if you don't use the tools, you're going to be left behind because companies are figuring out the messaging, the competition, it's an unfair advantage. And if you don't use it, you're playing the game with one hand behind your back. So go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, that being an equalizer is such a very good point. I'm based out of Vancouver, Canada, but I'm working with.
Yeah, great place.
Yeah, and I appreciate that when the rain stops, but I'm working with
Right.
a small wheel manufacturer just outside of Vancouver, and they make a great product. And now all of a sudden they're able to, by leveraging AI, reach customers around the world at any time of day and respond to them immediately. So that's a great point about it being an equalizer.
Yeah. And so what happens is you've got these small organizations that are starting to kick butt, and you're like, where'd they come from? Well, they're leveraging technology, and so you've got to level up. You can't just rest on the way you've always done things. So when it rains in Vancouver, go to my favorite chocolate place and it's called Mink. You ever heard of it?
I have. Good choice.
Go go get a hot chocolate from Mink there in Vancouver. Is one of the best ever. So,
Tell him Spencer sent me.
we send everybody there. We love it. And so how has it impacted else, the people? I think individually, if I'm same thing is true. If I'm working for a company, so many people are afraid of AI taking our job. No, the only thing that you should be afraid of is somebody with AI skills taking your job.
Very good point.
So you need to upskill and be able to know how to use it. There are things that AI will probably never be able to do. And what we're finding is that companies that went all into AI have said, "Whoa, whoa, we need to back up. We actually need people." And they're kind of backtracking a little bit on the idea that AI can do everything and replace all their workforce. It can't. But you need to be able to upskill as individuals on a team. Corporately, you need to be able to use those tools as well to position yourself. And so we use it in so many different ways. We use it in our marketing, use it in our SEO strategy to evaluate our website. I have AI in, scrub all the feedback that I get and find narratives that speak to people. I have when I get the feedback, I have AI find the themes that people are looking for. When I'm interviewing and coaching, I find the pain that keeps coming up again and again, and I have AI summarize that for me. So I can use that in my messaging. When we find out what people's pain is, then we can actually solve their problems. But as an organization, it's not what I can do. It's not my capability. It's, do I understand your problem? And can I help you fix your problem? But to cut through the noise, you need to know that I know what your problem is. And AI helps me do that in a way. It helps me edit. Like I just wrote an article, and I read an article on LinkedIn 2 weeks ago. I mean, I wrote an article last week with the help of AI, but I see an article on LinkedIn, I read it, and I say, okay, here's what I think, here's what I use, here's all the things how I would handle this. I'd like you to structure a response, a rebuttal, because I think that there's a problem with this, with this theory that this person is presenting, and I think it's incomplete, and here's how I would respond to it. Now write an article, and it takes me 10 minutes to do that. So I know what I want to say, but I don't have the time to format it and think about it and then bring in all the research links, and it does that for me. It's great for research. It's great for, hey, I have an idea, I have a thesis. Can you go out and scrub the internet and find, can you go on Reddit? So, I mean, I actually did that. I mean, if I could pull up, when I was doing this idea of pain, I think I asked a specific question of AI. Do you mind if I look that up? I don't know if I have time. I found it. So let me see if I can
Yeah.
find
Okay.
the question that I asked AI. So I'm using it in my keynotes. I have a keynote, and I'm like, okay, can you please, like I heard. I work with a coach to get better, and I said, okay, here's the feedback that I got from my coach. How can I apply that feedback to my keynote? And it comes back and says, here's where you could change this story to make it more about the audience than about yourself. And that's a way that I get sharper in my presentations, if that makes sense.
It does actually. It's funny you mentioned that. I'll share this on my LinkedIn later, but I found a great article about 5 traits that AI cannot replace. Things like judgment and empathy and understanding nuance. But you're so right. You find that balance, like we're talking about, between heart and head, and now technology and humans.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So, oh man, I'm trying to find the prompt that I used, but I've just got this huge report now on pain. And it's fantastic. I gather stuff from other companies and my clients, and now I've got this whole research is credibility in the marketplace, right? So companies will hire research companies to go out and take surveys, and then thought leaders are writing books around the survey. Well, now I can do that, or I can do some research and say, hey, I want you to answer this question. I want you to look at what research already exists, and then what holes do I have? What research do I need to do to fill that? And it just makes me so much more efficient and effective. How else do I use it? I use it in marketing. So I have a friend of mine who created an AI which I would love to use that actually searches for events, where I can, because otherwise I have to do that manually or hire virtual assistants to go out and find events. Then we go out and present them. Well, you can actually train AI to do that for you. You train it in, here's the message, here's the sequence. I mean, you can do that in CRMs, right? But you can create an agent that does work for you through your CRM to reach out to potential prospects and then basically nurture or drip on those prospects, right? And that's a great use of that. Manually, if I find a lead, how do I get their contact information? Well, I have an AI tool that researches and helps me find their contact information, and then I'm able to reach out to them and make contact with prospects. So I use it in marketing, I use it in messaging, I use it in editing my book, my talks. I use it in creating images for my presentations. We make them fun, we make them silly, we create things that are impossible. Right, me in a F1 car, I'm 6'7", 300 pounds, so we create images that are to make points, to add to the speech, and they become visually appealing. My graphics guy, I talk about golf clubs in one of my keynotes. Well, I don't have a good shot of that, so he takes AI and makes a brilliant shot that's my thumbnail now for my videos, right? That's all done through AI.
You spoke about punching over your weight in terms of how you're able to support organizations, and I'd imagine AI is able to support that. But I did find that article I was referring to, and we've touched on a few of those things about how it can make individuals more effective. For example, what does that AI do best? It's really good at automating repetitive tasks, but we'll still need to make judgment
Right.
calls in complex situations. So that's where the human element comes in. You were talking about generating drafts at speed. Sure, it can do that, but we still need to fine tune, read the tone, the context, the interpersonal nuance, and then some other examples like pull and summarize tasks. We'll still need to verify the data and recognize the patterns. And then, even things like organizing information efficiently, the ability for it to scrape all the vast resources online in such a quick format is it's mind boggling, but we'll still need to go through it and build the trust and make sure that this information can represent us and our company well with empathy. So, some great examples of how you're using it already to make your company more effective.
Yeah, and one other thing I do is if I actually follow sites that generate research, psychological studies, leadership studies. And then when I find a study that's interesting that has to do with something that I do, I'll take that and I'll throw it into AI and say, what are the main points that I don't, because I don't have time to read the entire study. What is the thesis? What is the recommendations? And how does this relate to what I do? And I can either add that knowledge to my own so I can stay on top of the latest research, or I can rebut it and then I can build on it as a thought leader. So that's something that enables me to, again, very quickly and efficiently share knowledge with the marketplace and with my clients.
Do you think you've adopted AI to a level that's sufficiently supporting your business, or do you think there's still
No,
opportunity?
no, 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 no. There's more. I mean, I need more, like I said, I need more agents to do some of the repetitive work and I've created my own, what do you call it? A couple of my own chats where I've trained it on my voice and all my articles, and so I have some of those tools, but I would like to have more automation. And so I hire people to work on my CRM, to all my scheduling is automated. I haven't even begun to tell you everything that I do, but that's automated, and I try to just have I don't have to worry about things, right? If somebody schedules a call with me, I know exactly what it's about. That we've programmed it to tell me so I can be prepared. Saves me time, little things I just don't want to think about. So, but there's so much more that I could be doing. I would say I'm using it to maybe 50, if I'm honest, maybe 50% capacity with everything that I've told you.
Which is better than
And
most, to
and
be
that's
quite
out of
honest.
ignorance. I'm probably, as somebody who's really steeped in AI, I would say you're only using it about 20% capacity.
Well, Spencer, at least you're getting started. One of the biggest feedback we get is, companies want to adapt AI. They're just not sure how. And so, if you can put some in front of them and some solutions, they're all over it. But it can seem daunting to, um, especially leaders. They don't know where to put it. Like, is it in our overall strategy? Does it fit with the IT team? Do I
Right.
have ahead of tech adoption? And so, it is a bit of a learning curve. But good on you for taking the first steps.
Well, thank you. Trying to.
So, where do you want to be 6 or 12 months from now? Do you want to focus on a specific sector or specific region, or what are your thoughts there?
Specific sector of what? I mean, my business or client location of my clients?
Yeah, maybe more industries per se.
You know, I am, I'm a little bit, it's a little bit of a problem for me with industries. I know a lot of people who do what I do say you need to specialize. And there's a couple of industries that I've, penetrated fairly well. What I do, I really believe is industry agnostic. That's a pro and a con. Con because industry experts want to know that you've solved problems in their space and understand their space, right? Yet what I do is applicable in it's a people problem. It's always a people problem. I don't need to know how you make spaghetti to help you make spaghetti better because the problems that you have are not strategy, not all technology. It's a people problem, and I can help with that no matter what industry that you're in. And personally, I get bored, even though within an industry there's so many different companies. I love the variety of what I do. I'm working with airlines, I'm working with government, I work with nonprofit, I work with banking, I work with marketing, I work with construction. The variety is just that excites me. But it's a disadvantage, right? And when it comes to penetrating a market, it's a disadvantage. And so where do I want to be 6 months from now? A year from now? I want my business. I do about 80 events a year. That's speaking to CEO groups, speaking on stages, doing workshops. I would like to get to about 95. I literally would like to be traveling, 2, 3 times a week. Like last week, I was in Las Vegas all week speaking at an event, and then I flew to Denver and back to Las Vegas and then home to Utah. That's exciting to me. And my wife and I usually travel together. So we're empty nesters. We can travel. I love to travel the world. I want worldwide stages. This year I'll be in Doha 3 times. I'll be in Bali working on going back to Cyprus. I don't know if that'll work with my schedule. I'm already booked for the day, but there's more international events that I do. I'm applying for my global speakers fellow. I've qualified for that. I'm a certified speaking professional. So I want to have more high-end speaking engagements all over the world. And I'd like to have that more automated within 6 months. So my goal, 95 events, more at the high end, and then bring on some coaches to help me do more of the coaching while I do more of the speaking. That's my goal. That's where I want to go.
Okay, one last question for you, Spencer. If you had a magic wand for you or your clients that you could wave, it would make one problem or challenge go away. What would that be?
So the biggest challenge for me is always steady lead generation. I have to, as a small business, I spend a lot of my time doing that outreach because you've got to have steady lead generation. My problem is everybody's got a lead gen system and everybody wants to charge an arm and a leg, but they're not. I'm the one who has to close it. I think if I had a magic wand, I would have perfect SEO with my website pulling opportunities from all over the world, and I would have a constant lead flow of qualified leads. That's what the magic wand would do for me.
All right. Well, Spencer, this was an amazing conversation, and I love your passion for what you do. It's really tangible, and you can feel it. So you've picked the right space.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Serge.
And I'd like to thank everybody for joining the AI Surge podcast, where we explore how AI is shaping industries and accelerating innovation. I'm your host, as always, Surgical, and today I'd like to thank very much Spencer Horn, founder and CEO of the Altium Leadership and Coaching Group, based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Spencer, if you could please remind the audience about how to get a hold of you and your website.
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's a great way to, Spencer Horn on LinkedIn. Our website is Altium Leadership. That's ALTIUM leadership.com, altiumleadership.com. And, so grateful for you inviting me to be on your show, Serge. And thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Spencer,